maps that you've got around, and I must confess my eyes are not that good that I can see what's happening on the very corners and what some of the parties are doing. Obviously the colors are representing the different political parties, and that's the maps that we've got here there. And this of course is the big screen that is right behind us, and we're just looking at some of the votes that have been counted and are coming in, and just those totals that are there. So quite interesting picture that, we've got our top three that are there, of course the ANC, the DA and the economic freedom fighters, but there's still a very, very long way to go. And most importantly is we are still, of course, having a look at what's going to be happening with the voter turnout, the big voter turnout.
And then, of course, as I said, we will be bringing in the CSIR just to speak to us about what we are currently seeing. And the Electoral Commission also says that some issues around shortages of ballot papers were received, but they have, of course, attended to this. Voting in the 2021 local government elections ended last night across the country with 8 million people having cast their vote by 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And joining us now in studio, we will be joined shortly by the CSIR, John, and this is what we wait for.
It is. I was having a look recently, and some fantastic coverage on the SABC website as well. 5% of the votes have been counted. So the numbers that you're seeing now, as you've been saying over a little while, is certainly very early days, 5% of the votes that are coming in. But like I said earlier, when a ward or a council has been counted, then those votes are closed. And they come into the IEC centre here, and those numbers are then confirmed, and a ward is awarded to a political party, as you can see on that graphic that's on the screen at the moment. But still early days, 5%.
Okay, let's take a look now. Professor Pravesh Debba from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research joins us. And Prof, it's good to have you again. We do this every 4 or 5 years, well, 5 years to be exact. But, it's interesting times, especially when we see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, Prof, let's just start by explaining for those who may not be au fait with the process, starting with the partnership with the SABC and what exactly it is that we do.
Okay. So the CSR, in partnership with the SABC, have developed a mathematical model which is able to quite accurately predict what the final outcome would be for each of the top political parties. And we do this with once there is at least about, if you're looking at the municipal elections, we need at least about 10 to 15% of the data in before we can make a prediction. For national elections, normally between 5 to 10% of the data can be in before we make a prediction.
So it's early days now, as I said, 5% in. How can you start making a little prediction, or do you say, no, we're scientists, we're going to wait for that 10%?
At this stage, we normally try to release something by 5 o'clock, so we would be doing that at this stage.
Yeah, that's what you're here for. That's what we've been waiting for, Prof. So let's take a look at where we are right now. So with regard to the model and exactly how you use the algorithms at your disposal to come, is it a prediction? Because Mbazi Mashilowa actually asked me yesterday this question, whether, because I think I said prediction, and he asked, is it a prediction? And I said, yeah, I think that is what it is. So it is a prediction.
It's actually a projection.
A projection.
Correct.
Okay, so...
because what we are doing, we are using the actual data in order to project what is going to be the final outlook. So in actual reality, the correct term would be a projection.
Mbazi Mashilowa, you have your answer. It's a projection. Now that we've got that out of the way, the terminology, let's speak to what we have and what we can glean from that.
Okay, meaning the results.
The results,
okay.
Yes.
So, like I've always said, it's very difficult for us to be able to predict at a very small level, so I'm not going to do this at a metro level and things like that.
Yes.
So at the national level, what we are seeing at the moment is that For ANC, there is going to be a drop, from to 2016, where it was 54.5%. It's our projection now is 47.6%. For the DA, there's also a drop from 2016, from 27% to 23.4%. For the EFF, there is a slight increase from 2016, from 8.2% to 9.3%. And then for IFP, there's also a slight increase from 4.3% to 5.6%. Then the other party, for the Freedom Front Plus, there is an increase from 0.8% to 2.9%. So that's what we have at the moment. We can also look at the provinces as well. For the Eastern Cape, we are projecting the ANC could end up around about 64.4%, the DA 17.6%, the EFF 7.4%, and UDM 2.7%. For the Free State, we are projecting the ANC to be 51.1%, the DA to be 21.2%, the EFF to be 11.8%, and the Freedom Front Plus in Free State to be 5.2%.
Prof, just before you carry on, I just want to make sure that these numbers, these percentages that you're predicting, these are overall votes in that province that you're talking about, right? So 56% of all the votes that go in will be for that party. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will have 56% of the seats, just because of the way the system works, for example.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. For Gauteng, we only have 5.4% of the voting districts declared. So that would be, somewhat of a guess at this moment. And therefore it's sitting at, for the ANC at 36.7%, for the DA at 33.6%, for the EFF at 11.8%, and the Freedom Front Plus at 5.2%. And it seems Action SA might be doing quite well there as well, also in the region of 5% or so.
Just repeat that, Prof. What are the predictions in Gauteng? Just repeat
the predictions
all of it,
in
please.
Gauteng is...
The projections.
Yeah, it is that at this moment, but please...
yeah, you did say it's not,
it's
but what
only
it's looking like, it's 5.4, yeah.
declared. So...
Do you look at this now and save this? Sorry, I know you want to go on, and there's a lot of numbers to get through. You save this, and then in an hour's time, you look and see if there's a change, and you're actually comparing. It's not like, because it's great to give the numbers out now, which is fantastic. But you're seeing, and obviously you're going to work your model again for next time based on what you've done.
Yes, that's true. But also at a later stage, we're just setting up our dashboard. But at a later stage, you'll be able to see the actual changes. So we do it at regular intervals, and one will be able to see where CSIR projections are actually changing. Yeah. So you'll see that later.
So at this preliminary stage, at 5.4% for Gauteng.
For Gauteng, ANC at 36.7%, DA at 33.6%, EFF at 11.4%, Freedom Front Plus at 5.2%, and Action SA. Here, there is some concern, but it's sitting at 5.2% at the moment.
And also because it's a new party, so that also comes into play.
That's correct.
All right. Moving straight along, Prof.
Okay, and then for KwaZulu-Natal, here it's only 3.7% that's declared. So it's...
now we'll skip them for now.
Yeah, I think so as well. Mpumalanga, we got 14.2% declared, so that's quite nice. ANC is 60.1% declared. The DA is 11.9% declared. The EFF is, the ANC is 60.1%. The DA is 11.9%. The EFF is 15.3%. And Freedom Front Plus is 3.3%.
EFF higher than DA in Mpumalanga. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. And that's already more than 10%.
Yes.
That we're looking at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
For Northern Cape, it seems like there's almost 34% that's declared. So that's quite good. For ANC, it's 49.2%. DA 19.6%, EFF 9.5%, and Freedom Front Plus is 4.8%.
There were predictions that the ANC would lose or will be less than 50% across the provinces. The Northern Cape is an example. I think you gave another one where they were below 50% as well. Do you, obviously this is the trend that you're seeing across some of those provinces.
Yes.
Gauteng, it was very close. The Northern Cape, that's quite a significant margin for them to be that close and below 50%.
Yes, no, absolutely. So if we look at 2016, they were 58.7, so that seemed to have dropped to 49.2. Okay, like I said, ours is a projection, but even if I have to compare the voting districts that have been declared at this stage to what the numbers were in 2016 for those same voting districts, so actual against actual now. In 2016 for ANC it was 51.3% and now it's dropped to 44.9%. So actual against actual, there is a drop. So the projection is also showing the same as well.
Your projection's on track. Western
Okay,
Cape.
and Limpopo, there's only 3% declared, so let's leave that out
let's
as
leave
well.
that for the time being.
Northwest, also only 2.9% declared, so let's leave that out. Okay, so that's what we have. Sorry, and
Western Cape.
Western Cape, there's 16.1% declared, so that's nice. ANC 21.3%, so that's a drop from 26.5%. The DA 51.5%. Again, that's a drop from 63.6%.
Wow, that's a significant drop.
The EFF is 2.7%. Freedom Front Plus is 3.9%. And Good is 3.9% as well.
Where the percentages coming, the ANC and the DA have both dropped. Where is that being picked up? Can you see that?
So one would be Good because they weren't, the party wasn't there in 2016. And Freedom Front Plus as well, from 0.7% it's picked up to 3.9%. But I suppose a lot of them are sitting in the smaller parties and the independent parties as well.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So obviously some provinces a much clearer picture at this stage than in others. How much more time do you need, Prof? Depending on, of course, what's happening on the board in terms of how those numbers come in. But we'd love to have you back later on in the show when we have a little more data and information in some of the other provinces that are too early to call.
Well, some of the other provinces, but also we should be able to start giving some of the metro results as well, and then certain areas as well. But that is as time goes.
This is going to be so interesting. So right now it would seem the Freedom Front Plus, they are showing quite well at this stage. And then the EFF possibly replacing the DA as official opposition in Mpumalanga. We see the significant drop in support for the DA in the Western Cape. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly where those votes go ultimately. And have I kind of summed it up?
Yes, I think
correctly.
You have.
Wow. It's interesting. Can't wait for more results to come through.
We were predicting the smaller parties to have an impact on the big boys, as it were. And those smaller parties, maybe the independents as well, especially in the wards, certainly it seems to have changed the way the people have voted, and let's see what comes out of it.
It's going to be fabulous because it makes the Western Cape very interesting as well. Because one would have thought, and I suppose the DA thought that, you know, they had this one sewn up. And now you see quite a significant drop for the DA in the Western Cape.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, aside from our projections for the Western Cape, let me just see if I'm looking at the right. Yeah. So for the Western Cape, if you compare the like-to-like as well, from 2016 to now, so the exact same voting districts that we are looking at, and that has dropped from 62.8% to 52%. So like to like, that is what's happening.
That is huge because that's a more than 2/3 majority to kind of almost hanging on, just about hanging on there. Wow.
I want to talk about your numbers a little bit more. What percentage of confidence do you have in these projections at the moment compared to maybe 3 hours from now?
Can I answer that before Prof answers?
Okay, go. Let's see.
I have 100% confidence.
100%.
Listen, we've done this in so many elections, and you have never been wrong, Prof. But now that I've said my bit, please go for it, Prof.
Let's see the scientific version of it.
Look, at this stage, we have still made an error of around about anything between 0.3% to round about, I think the maximum that we made an error at this stage was around 3%. So 0.3 to about 3%.
But where does that usually come in? Is it where do you usually find that those errors creep in?
This happened in 2014 when EFF
the new party
came in,
yeah.
but it wasn't simply because it was a new party. If you look at 2009 when COPE came in, because COPE was across the country, and the results came in, across the country and so on, quite evenly. So we were able to predict COPE very well. But in 2014, with EFF, the support was in particular areas. And the problem was that those particular areas, the results were held back. So the program, the algorithm could not learn from anything about this new party. And it therefore only had information on what was coming in. So we also tried to see, if we do, if some of those results came a little bit earlier, would our accuracy have improved for EFF? And it would have improved. And that was a time when it was more than 2%. We had a more than 2% error.
I remember that election.
I think it was close to a 3%
yeah,
error.
I vividly remember that election. But I think also going into it, you did explain that, because of this new entrant and what had happened previously, there would be that margin for error. So are we likely to see that again with the new parties, especially as new entrants?
Well, it all depends. If any of the areas are being held back that or has not come in, that has extremely high support for one of those areas, then which is very different from everything else, then yes, we can expect to have a slightly different result, or a bigger error will happen.
Okay.
Just on the turnouts, because I think this is quite important, because again, this is the first time we are experiencing a low turnout. So once again, I'm not sure how our model will actually behave in such a situation with a low turnout. So we need to be a little bit careful with the results. Let's not go by it as 100% certain, but I think the trends are there.
Very interesting. You're putting
Spoken like
this model to its through its paces.
Spoken like a true scientist.
Yeah.
This is exactly, but there's a number of other issues.
Yeah.
Looking forward. I can't wait to see what's coming up next. It's going to be great.
So hopefully, I'm not sure because this 24-hour operation, so I'm not sure, Prof, if it's going to be you or someone else from the CSIR. If you could please just come back before the end of the show so that we can take a closer look once again. But thanks so much, Professor Pravesh Debba from the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that's the CSIR, and just giving us some of the projections for what to expect from the results that have already been counted and declared. So we'll park that there for the time being. And don't forget, it is, of course, television meets radio. John Chirika from SAFM with us, as well as Leanne Manis and myself, naturally, from Morning Live on SABC2 and SABC News. Well, let's take this opportunity once more to crisscross the country